All right, now the next thing that we're going to start is document parser. Okay, we are done with clinical trial clients, we are done with PubMed client. Now the next is document parser.py. Okay, what is the job of document parser? See, the thing is, as of now you have worked with both the databases, you have fetched the data, but you need some file that actually cleans the raw messy data that you're going to get from the APIs. Okay, and when it comes to these APIs are going to return deeply nested inconsistent JSON, right? And this file extracts extracts only the fields we actually need and puts them into clean predictable type Python objects. So it's nothing but a data cleaner. Okay, in a way, or a file cleaner you can call it. Okay, why does this file exist? You can think of this as a border checkpoint. Your messy data is going to come from outside, that is from both the APIs. Clean data goes out to the rest of your system. Everything after this file, which is chunking, embedding, and agents, so chunking, embedding, all of that part you will see here, okay, will only see the clean version, right? And they don't have to deal with the nested structure, etc. So it's nothing but file structure. You don't have to run this file directly. It is going to be run by run ingestion.py. Okay, that is what is going to happen. So let's actually build this particular file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's say, start with the most basic. So I'm just going to say I'm going to take datetime. From datetime I'm going to import datetime. All right, so datetime gives us the current date and time, right? And we use it to stamp or timestamp every parsed record as to when was it processed. Okay, then I'm going to import any. Yeah, after any I am going to import from pedantic. I am going to import base model, and I'm also going to import field, right? Base model is pedantic's base class for defining the data shape and every class that we build below is going to inherit from this particular base model, right? Which makes it pedantic. And when it comes to field lets us add a default value or an extra metadata, right, to a particular field. That is what we'll be doing. And then I'll just say from logging config import setup logging, setup logging. Okay, and then I'll just say logger equals to setup logging, and I'm just going to put name. Yeah, we have already covered this. I'm not going to re-explain this. Okay, all right, next what we're going to do is we're going to focus on internal data shapes, or we're going to focus on schemas. Okay, there are typically two classes, okay, that define exactly what a study and a paper inside the system looks like. Okay, I'll just say paper inside the system looks like after cleaning. So after cleaning, how will it look like? Okay, cool. All right, so what I'll do is, first and foremost, I'll create a class called as parsed study. Okay, that inherits from base model. Okay, and now what do we do here? Okay, we're going to have a clinical trial, that is clinical trial study that is cleaned and structured. Okay, the chunker is going to read this. Okay, the vector store is going to read this. The agents reason about this. Nobody touches the raw API, right? So I think we'll just directly write this. Okay, you will get the idea. As soon as we write it, you'll get the idea. Okay, first and foremost, it takes NCT ID, which is the clinical trial identifier. Okay, then it takes the title. Okay, the official name of your research study. Then it takes who has sponsored that particular research study, like which pharma giant, whether it is Pfizer or GlaxoSmithKline, Novo Nordisk, all of them. Okay, then I'm going to define phase. Okay, which means which phase or stage of testing this particular study represents. Okay, which means phase 1 is a, they call it phase 1 as a small group, phase 2 as a larger group, phase 3 as a larger scale, etc. Okay, which phase this project is currently in. Okay, then status. Okay, what is the current state of this particular study? Okay, are you recruiting, actively not recruiting, completed the study, terminated the research study? What is the status? Then conditions. Conditions. Okay, and I want this to be a list of strings. Okay, condition means the medical condition, let's say diabetes, obesity, whatever you are looking for the research. Then interventions, again this has to be a list of string only. Yeah, interventions is nothing but the drugs, devices, or the procedures being tested. Okay, for example, let's say you are looking for GLP-1, which is your Ozempic, or you're looking for semaglutide 2.4 milligram, or you're looking from placebo, all of that, right? Drugs, devices, or procedures that you want to test, they are going to be listed under interventions. Okay, then primary outcome. Okay, which is again string in nature. Okay, this is the single most important thing this particular research study promised to measure. Okay, before it started, you always have a research study which starts with a promise, right? So this is that particular promise. Okay, and this is the field that our broken promises agent, broken promises agent, okay, cares the most about. So this particular agent is going to work on primary outcome argument. Yeah, for example, what does it care about? It says that, hey, you know what, if the study did the study measure a particular outcome till the very end? If not, then what happened, etc., etc. Okay, then we also have, just how we have primary outcome, we also have secondary outcomes. Okay, this is again going to be a list of string. These are nothing but the additional things that your research study measured beyond the primary outcome. Okay, then obviously every research tends to have a start date, it tends to have a completion date, and you obviously have, there is something called as results posted as well. Okay, let's keep this boolean. Now results posted is nothing but whether the sponsor, which is like who sponsored the research, they have posted the results to clinicaltrials.gov, true or false. If this is false and the status is completed, that is the signal that our missing results agent is going to look for. What is missing the results going to look for? If the sponsor is that, hey, you know what, my research is done. Okay, and or rather the status is completed. Okay, and if they have not posted the results, then that is what your missing results is going to look for. Just like that, we also have enrollment. Okay, which is nothing but how many participants enrolled or plan to be enrolled. Then you have something called as protocol amendments. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a list of dictionary. Yeah, and so this is every time a study design was officially changed mid study, which means you are done 50% of the research. Now, once you're done with 50% of the research, you're going to change the study design of the research. Okay, that is nothing but amendment. Amendment means you have changed something in your research study. That is also what we're going to track. So you can see at such a minute level we are tracking things. Okay, then again this has to be raw data. Okay, which is the complete original API response, right? This is your API original response, exactly how we have received it. Yeah, and we're going to keep it as it is, in case if we need it. And then I'm just going to have parsed at, which is again going to be string, which is nothing but the timestamp when your record was cleaned, as simple as that. So this is your class parsed study. Okay, similarly the next thing that we're going to do is class parsed paper. Okay, again this is going to be base model, which is pedantic. Okay, And so let's say here we're going to have a PubMed research paper that's going to be cleaned, that's going to be structured. Okay, there's the same idea as that of parsed study. Okay, this is what a paper means everywhere in the code base. So when we say we are looking for research paper, these are the things that we're going to get. When we're looking for research study, these are the things that we're going to get. As simple as that. Okay, first and foremost, PubMed study has a unique identifier. So PMID, after PMID there is a title to your research paper, there is an abstract to your research paper, then in which journal was it published, then publication date. Okay, then who are the authors, and we can have multiple authors, so I'm just going to put this as a list of string. And then which NCT IDs, okay, were referenced, as in how many research or clinical research have you referenced for this particular item. So I'm just going to say list of string. Then I'm also going to put the source. Okay, I'm going to put this as PubMed by default. So this is always PubMed, the source, right? This tags this record to the downstream code. Okay, it knows that it came from a research paper and not a clinical trial filing. Okay, and then I'm also going to put in word count, which is again going to be integer. Yeah, so roughly how many words are in the abstract. Okay, that is what it tells us. Okay, a very short abstract, let's say under 50 words or so, it is often going to signal that the paper does not have much useful details for our agents. And we're also going to have a parse stat thing here. Okay, looks fine. Okay, looks doable. So we have defined both the classes, which are pedantic in nature. Now we're going to define the parser class. Okay, and this class does the actual work of turning messy data, or turning messy raw data into a clean parsed study. So messy raw data, okay, is transformed into a clean parsed study, parsed study, and parsed paper, sorry. Okay, all right, it is stateless. Okay, it does not remember anything between the calls as of now. You can create one document parser and you can reuse it for everything, right? So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to create a class called as document parser. Okay, and what does it do? As we discussed, it is going to convert your raw API data into into the clean version of parse study and parse paper objects. Okay, cool. All right, so all right, so let us now parse one study. Okay, so I'm going to create a function here called as parse study. Okay, method. Okay, parse study. Yeah, and I'm going to define here, it takes in the raw response, right, and gives in what, gives in parse study. Okay, else none. Yeah, so this is what this method actually does. It basically cleans one clinical trials.gov study record. Okay, that is what it does. Okay, it is going to clean that particular record. Okay, and your clinical trials gov API, okay, it nests everything very deeply. A field like title might be 4-5 levels deep inside the raw dictionary. Okay, so what this particular method is going to do, it is going to dig through that particular nesting and it is going to pull out only what we need. So that is the best part here, right? So I'm just going to say try, and here what we're going to do is we're going to navigate through the complex nested structure that our API gives in the response. Yeah, so the API now, what API does is basically your API wraps almost everything inside something called as protocol section. Okay, so we need to take that Okay. And yeah, you can think of this like, opening a series of box inside the box. You can remember those dolls, right? There's one big doll, inside that there are multiple other dolls. That is the same thing we're going to do, unpacking basically. Okay, so I'm just going to say raw.get, and I'm going to say protocol section. Okay, and if nothing, then just an empty dictionary. Yeah, then id module. Okay, I'm just going to say protocol dot, now from this protocol I'm going to get the status module. Okay, else nothing. Yeah, then sponsor module, we're just going to look at different parts inside the dictionary. Okay, again protocol dot get, get, and now I'm just going to say this is sponsor collaborators module. Yeah, and then I have conditions module. Okay, then I'll just going to write protocol dot get. Okay, conditions module. Okay, and then I'm going to put in design module. Okay, protocol dot get. Okay, I'm going to put in design module. Yeah, and this again, if not then empty, then I'm going to put outcomes module. Okay, I'm just going to say protocol dot get, and in protocol dot get I'm going to put in this is going to be outcomes module, else empty. Yeah, and then interventions underscore mod, I'm going to say protocol dot get. Okay, and then is something called as arms interventions module. These are just like very specific things, that we'll be extracting. Okay, now each module is, you can think of this as a bigger box. Okay, and we're just going to extract all the important sections, okay, from in here. Yeah, and then I'm just going to say something called as results section. Okay, so I'm going to say raw dot get, and I'm going to say results section. Okay, and then has results. Okay, I'm going to say I'm just going to check in the results section, and I'm going to get the boolean output from this. Do we got the results? Yes or no? Okay, results section is a separate top level box that is outside the protocol sections. Okay, if it exists and it is not empty, the sponsor has posted the results for this particular study. Okay, that is what it means. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract the NCT ID first. So I'm just going to say NCT ID equals to ID module dot get, and from this ID module I'm going to get the NCT ID, else nothing. Okay, and if not NCT ID, okay, then now thing is, every study needs to have an NCT ID, right? It is like a primary key for your research study, and if it is missing, this record is useless to us. Yeah, so we log it and skip this rather than crashing. Okay, so I'm just going to say logger dot warning. Okay, and I'm going to say study is missing its NCT ID. Okay, so we're going to skip this. Yeah, and I'm just going to return none. Okay, all right, then after extracting the NCT ID, this is NCT ID, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract the title as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to say title. Okay, then I'm going to say ID module dot get. Okay, and I'm going to get the official title, or I'm going to say ID module dot get, I'm going to get the brief title. Okay, or I'm just going to get an empty string or empty string. Yeah, looks fine. Okay, now we try the full official title first. Okay, now some studies only have the short brief title. Okay, they use that as a fallback, right? And you use that as a fallback, and or chain tries each option, okay, in order to check that it is not empty, right? So once you've extracted the title, now we're going to extract the sponsor. Now see guys, try to understand. You can see this is how you deal around with, you know, nested APIs. Okay, what you're learning right now, as I said, is very high quality. This is what you will be doing in the real world as well. Okay, in real world projects. Okay, you when you're working with such nested you know, kind of complicated APIs, the way to deal with them is a bit different, and that is what you're learning here. Okay, let's say I'm looking at sponsor, so I'm just going to say sponsor module, and from sponsor module I'm going to get lead sponsor. Okay, else empty on or dot get. I'm just going to say else get the name, else just write unknown sponsor. Looks fine. Okay, all right. The chain, if you see, we have created a chain of dot get calls, right? Each one safely returns an empty dictionary, yeah, if the key is missing, yeah, so that the next dot get never crashes. Okay, that's the you know, simple logic behind this. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to extract the phase. Okay, so I'm going to say phase equals to, we have something called as design module, and in design module we're going to get the phases, else not applicable. Okay, let me write it this way. Yeah, all right. And I'll just say phase equals to phase. Okay, if phase else NA. Yeah, so phases, now when it comes to phases of your project, they come back as a list, right? Sometimes a study list, sometimes there are two phases together, phase 1 and phase 2, right? A phase is nothing but the phase of your research, where it is, you know, currently it is terminated, completed, going on. What is the phase? Yeah, so we take the first one as our single phase value. That is what we take here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to extract the status, conditions and interventions, okay, from our API. So I'll just go to say status equals to, and I'll say status module. Okay, dot get. Have I not defined status module? Just a minute, let me check. Status module, I think I didn't. ID module I have done, and after ID I've done sponsor. I've not done status. Okay, so here I have to define status module as well. So I'll be writing protocol dot get. Okay, and I'll be just saying status module else empty. Okay, so here I'm just going to take the I'm going to take the status module. Okay, and from that I'm going to extract the overall status. Okay, else unknown. Yeah, all right. Then I'm going to take the conditions. I'm just going to say take this from the conditions module. Okay, and from the conditions module I'm going to get conditions else an empty list. Okay, then interventions. Okay, and in interventions this is just plain logic that I am writing. This should be self-explanatory to you. I'm not going to explain this. Yeah, for I in interventions mod, we're just going to get the interventions. We're going to loop over it. Okay, and we're going to get the name from that intervention, else nothing. Okay, if I dot get name, we're just going to loop and extract the name. If nothing, then empty string, and that is how we're going to get the intervention. Okay, All right, this is nothing but the list comprehension, right, which is going through every intervention entry, and it is going to pull out its name field, right, and keep only ones which have actually a name, right. Yeah, cool. All right, then we also need to extract the primary outcome. Okay, we also need to extract the primary outcome. So I'm going to define primary outcomes list equals to outcomes module, and from outcomes module I'm going to get the primary outcomes. Okay, else an empty list, and I'm just going to say primary outcome equals to I'm going to take the first instance of the primary this thing, and I'm going to get measure tag from here, else nothing. Okay, if the primary outcomes list, I'm just creating a condition over this. Okay, and else empty. So if I'm going to extract the primary outcomes list, give me the first instance. Okay, now the study can technically list more than multiple primary outcomes, right, but in the practice only we are only extracting the first primary outcome from our research study. Okay, that is all what we are doing. Okay, just how we have primary outcomes, we also have secondary outcomes. So I'm just going to write here secondary outcomes equals to, okay, so I'll say for O in outcomes module dot get. Okay, and here I'm going to get the secondary outcomes, okay, from our module, else not else an empty list. Okay, if O dot get measure. Okay, and here I'm going to say O dot get measure, else empty list. Yeah, have I defined outcome modules? Yes, I have defined it. Okay, and that is what we are taking here. Okay, all right, so you can see this is quite interesting, at the same time complex as well. You have to think on so many lines, right. I can completely understand this might be a bit tricky at start, but slowly and steady, once you write the code, once you go through it, and once you make yourself comfortable working with this kind of code, you're only going to write high quality software. Okay, next is start date. Okay, from the status module, okay, I'm going to get start date structure. Okay, else dot get get. Yeah, this is just like two get functions in a particular a chain of get functions. If not this, then this, but at least we'll be able to extract the date. Yeah, next is we're going to extract the completion date of our research. So I'm just going to say status underscore module dot get, and get the primary completion date structure. Okay, else nothing, else dot get, and get the date, else nothing, or I'll just say take the status module and get completion date struct. Okay, else empty dictionary. Okay, or dot get the date, else empty. Okay, this is how we're going to extract the completion date. So try the completion date or the primary completion date first. Okay, try the primary completion date first. Okay, this is the date the main outcome was actually measured. Okay, and you in case if not, then you fall back to the generalized completion date. Okay, all right, let us look at the next part in the next video. Yeah, thanks.